everybody. My name is Dr. Durdana Islam. I teach at the University of Winnipeg and I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And I'm a proud member of Bangladeshi community living in Winnipeg. Since the COVID-19 had started, I have heard many students talking about their mental health and how it has affected their mental health and well-being. I've had student body leaders from Bangladeshi community talking to me about this. Today, I've invited my good friend, Dr. Rehman Abdulrehman, to come and talk to us, especially to the student body leaders, about how they can address these issues impacting their mental health. We have requested the students to send their questions beforehand so that we can ask the expert about how to deal with these things. Today, we will be conducting the meeting via Zoom because we're all practicing social distancing here. Let me introduce Dr. Abdul Rehman. He's a clinical and consulting psychologist. He's the director of clinical psychology in Manitoba and a lead of Lead with Diversity. He's also an assistant professor of University of Manitoba. He's a specialist in anxiety, trauma, and cross-cultural psychology and diversity and inclusion. And he's a recent TEDx speaker. I hope this conversation, the session that we will be having with Dr. Abdul Rehman and the student body leaders of Bangladeshi communities, especially University of Manitoba, Bangladesh Student Association, and University of Winnipeg, Bangladesh Student Association, will be finding it helpful. And we will be sharing with other student bodies as well, this video, especially with Muslim Student Association of University of Manitoba. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashraf. I'm the president of University of Winnipeg Bangladeshi Student Association. It's a privilege to do this meeting with you, and I really appreciated that you agreed to give us specifically targeting the audience of the student body who needs like really good advice right now, like what they should do, and in this time of stress, like they're stressed out on regarding their unemployment rate, they're getting laid off from their work, and also they're concerned about their families back home. Like they know they will be safe here since the government of Canada is really supportive, but they're really concerned from back home. Like I have had students who are concerned about their parents. Like they have, since they were laid off, they were asking for money from back home, and their parents weren't able to like support them. Like the banks are not able to send any money to them. So in regards to that, that's just one point. They also have other stuff, like the number of positive cases on Bangladesh like grew so fast that as it's a densely populated country, so they know their parents would be like interacting with people all the time, and they try to stay home as much as possible, but you know, sometimes it's just not possible. They have to go out, get groceries and whatnot. Even if they stop working, they still have to get their groceries. So there's like not really that much of voluntary organization back in Bangladesh to support them during this crisis. And they're like really concerned. Like personally, like the area where I used to live in back home, a guy, like a lady came from the US, and she literally affected a worker on that shop, and the cops found out about this, and then they shut down the whole store. So everyone near that neighborhood, like even for my family, it's a big departmental shop. So people used to go there very often and buy their stuff from there. So like everyone just got freaked out. Like my parents are going there to buy their groceries. Even my friends from here, or from, let's say I have friends on India who were on Bangladesh and they went there. They are posting and sharing about this. Like I'm concerned on my family, what's gonna happen. So we really need to have a talk with everyone and like show them like we are here for you and you need to calm down, because I believe that.
Thank you, Ashraf, for sharing that, and I'm sure Dr. Abdul Rehman will address some of the things that specifically students are facing, and that's why we are here to talk about the greater student community, because I was following your news interviews and how you said how different communities are facing it, and how we should talk about mental health and how we can take care of it. So today we'll be focusing on some of the student concerns that we are facing, specifically international students. And I would ask Prajesh to introduce himself, and Jamil to introduce himself. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you for the platform. Actually, I'm Prajesh Kumar. I'm from UMBSA, University of Manitoba Bangladeshi Students, marketing and media, maybe for marketing and media. So I'm representing the students from here, and the main thing is that the students are very, like, the pandemic situation is not usual, and so everyone is actually out of the mind what we need to do, what did not, what we shouldn't do. So they're staying at home, yes, but like again, staying at home, people are generally going outside and doing their work, but they're staying at home and they're being quarantined. It's keeping effect, like it might, like it's creating adverse effect on their everyday lifestyle, right? So they're actually concerned about their income, their family and relatives outside of Canada, like who are back at home, and all the safety. And actually, like this is creating something like which is beyond the definition, I believe.
Yeah.
And because like this is the whole situation, the whole condition is not normal. Like it's a pandemic, and it counts, I believe, in every 100 year the world faces one epic pandemic. So the students are like, some of us can keep themselves calm, but like most of the students, like they're alone over here. So being alone is also a very hard challenge. Not
Yes.
everyone has someone to talk in their home. Yeah, like I'm being lucky. I have 2 other housemates whom I can talk to. We can
Yes.
watch movie together. We can keep ourselves calm, but not everyone. So I'm actually concerned about my other friends who are staying at home alone, because I know some of my friends who like they're even like worried if they should go out to do the grocery or not. Like they're not affected yet with the
Yes.
virus thing, but like it's like a mental they're in a mental cage that no, I won't be going out. If I go out, if I do the grocery, the virus will get me. So
Yes.
things are getting complicated day by day, and it's not a lockdown yet here, but the mental situation of so many students are, this is a lockdown. We are stuck here. I don't know when we'll be getting out, like
Yes.
that. So yeah, this is the main problem that I want to address.
Okay.
And Ashraf said all the other things. So yeah.
Thank you, Prajesh, for raising your concern that you have. I would ask Jamil to add anything. Is it okay, Abdul Rehman, how we're doing it, like getting the question, introducing, and then you can address everything?
Yeah, so, you know, it'd be nice to see it's nice to have the introductions. It's good to meet you all, but it'd be good to have the question one at a time.
Okay,
So I
okay,
can
awesome.
answer
So
one
would you like to, okay, let's finish the introduction. Then I would ask Jamil and then Sanjida to introduce yourselves to the group, and then Abdul Rehman will address the questions.
Hi, I'll introduce myself first. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, so this is Sanjida. I'm currently studying at the UFW. I'm taking criminal justice as my major. And as everyone is affected, I'm affected too. And I just came back from New York 12 days ago, so I'm in self-quarantine. I have 2 more days to go.
Okay.
I understand the panic that everyone is going through, and I can see it, especially after coming back. I have been treated as a virus myself. So that was another mental pressure that I was going through while I was in self-isolation, because I wasn't sure if I caught the virus or not, right? Because I was in New York, and New York has the highest rate of affected people with corona. So and while I came back, I was getting treated as a virus myself, so that also took a toll on me. But as my 12 days passed, I know, like, I'm alhamdulillah, like, I'm not affected. But yeah, so that's my introduction.
All right, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Thanks, Sanjida, for joining us. Yeah, Jamil. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Jamil Ahmed. I'm from University of Winnipeg. I'm doing masters in economics. And the thing is that, like, the thing I'm facing right now is that I live in a house that it's really like an international house. There is a Chinese guy, and there is a Vietnamese guy, and there is a guy with he's from Turkey. So the thing is that I don't have that much of connection with them. Basically, I live alone, and I have someone from my country, but he's at work mainly. I don't meet him. So that's the most hard thing I'm facing right now. Like I used to go to university. I used to meet people. Like we used to play at the weekends, any soccer game or something like that. But it's not happening right now, and it's quite frustrating and like
Very absolutely.
it's really depressing,
Yes,
to be
absolutely.
honest.
Okay, it's good to meet you all. So where should we start with? Which question should we start? Have you all received questions from your student bodies or your memberships? Or?
Yeah, we received a lot of questions.
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where should we start?
Who wants to start first? Do you want to ask the question first, Projesh or Afra?
I think I will give it to
I would
Ashraf first.
request the rest of us
Okay.
to keep the microphone in mute if you're not talking, so it
Sure.
would be for all of us. So who wants to start, Ashraf or Projesh?
Okay, sure. I can start.
Okay, great.
So the first
And
question which
Let's
I
keep
have.
the question short and to focus, so Abdul Rehman can answer that. Thanks.
Yeah. So how do I deal with the fear of COVID-19? Even if I seem to make myself understand sometimes, my family keeps worrying and seeing that I get worried as well.
Yes, that's a very good question. So this is a understandably very anxiety-provoking situation. A lot of people are very worried. There's a lot of uncertainty as well too, on knowing what, on what's going to be happening. The situation is changing daily. So this is a classic definition of a situation where people are going to be more anxious than normal. But it's easy for us to get carried away with the worry and start to do maybe more than we need. So we're already in a circumstance where we are needing to social distance and minimize our contact. All the stores are closed. The things that we're normally used to doing are already cut back. We have to be mindful to utilize the public health guidelines as the standard of what we should be doing. And that can be a good guideline to use, because when we don't know what we should do, we should look at what a standard is. And it's okay for us to periodically check on what those standards are. So, the public health recommendations might adjust periodically as the situation is changing. So we can make a moment, every day to double check that and say, what should we be doing? How has the circumstance changed? But to use that, if we are not using that, it's easy for our worry to get out of hand and for us to panic. And once we become panicking, then we can't really think effectively. And if we can't think effectively, we can't think logically and can't manage things that we need to on an everyday basis as effectively as our brains could normally do. So I'd say the two things: number one, check your public health recommendations of what should be happening. Use those as a limit. You can check those once a day. You can check with the news once a day on what's happening, and then leave it as is and follow those recommendations and stick with those. Stick with that.
Okay. So the second question which I had was, is there any way to think positively throughout this pandemic?
There's a lot of ways. Most of the times people think about this being a very negative thing. If you think about it, in many ways, the world has come together to try to behave in the same way. Can you imagine trying to get the entire world to do the same thing? When has that last happened? We're in situations where people are fighting over ethnic or cultural or religious lines. And now the main focus in the entire world, everybody is doing the exact same thing. And to me, that is a striking success, to have the entire globe work on the exact same thing. That's a positive. And what it allows us to know is that what we're engaging in, this concept of social distancing, of self-quarantining, those are positive measures. Those aren't measures to show that there's a catastrophe. Those are measures to show that we are able to do what we need to do to protect each other as human beings. And I'd say that's a very positive thing. So if we focus on the functional piece of what we're doing, instead of focusing on the bad, that allows us to know that we have some control. And when we recognize we have some control, we have control of our own behavior. We can choose to stay home, minimize our engagement and interaction with other people, unless we're in a very specific situation that needs to claim otherwise. If you're a physician or something like that, or you're working in an essential service, we know we have that ability to control, and our behavior will have a positive impact on the health of our community and our entire world. So I'd say that's a big positive there.
Okay. So the third question which I had was, the fear of insecurity of being an international student in a foreign homeland haunts me. If COVID-19 hits me, will I be able to recover and mentally reset my mind to be able to resume my studies?
Yeah. You know what? Human beings are very, very, very resilient. We know that the rates of recovery for COVID-19 are very high and very positive. It can certainly feel like you are a fish out of water. It can feel like you feel very much as an international student sometimes like you don't belong. But you have to know that you're in a community where people care about you. And you can see that people are working together hand in hand, regardless of their background, to try to help each other out. And so it can feel very isolating. What I would recommend is to make sure that you're connected with other people, as many people as you can. As an international student, you might feel like you would prefer to communicate or interact with people of a similar culture or similar language. This is not the time to stick to your groups. This is the time to make sure that we connect with anybody. So if there are people in your household, you know, if you're living in a group setting where people coming from different backgrounds, connect with them. If you are in a situation by yourself, call people wherever they might be, people from your background or other people, engage in phone calls, you know, connect with social media, stay connected with your community and people as a whole, because that will be a very protective factor against difficulties with depression and anxiety.
Great suggestions, Abdul Rehman. That was very good. Yeah, thank you. Should I give Projesh a chance to ask question? But before that, can I ask Abdul Ahad to introduce yourself to the group? Abdul Ahad, are you able to listen to us?
Yes, I can listen.
Okay, awesome.
So,
Would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
for sure. Yep, my name is Abdul Ahad, and I'm currently the finance manager for University of Manitoba Muslim Student Association. And just here to take some advice, you know, on how to protect ourselves, you know, and our community, and how to deal with mental stress and mental struggles that people are facing right now, especially the international students.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Projesh, I'll ask you to ask the first question, then I'll move on and ask give Jamil and Abdul Ahad a chance to ask question, and Sanjida as well. Thanks.
Sure. Actually, the main thing is all about being quarantined and keeping the normal pace of the life together. So when I inquired and when I talked to some of the other students from University of Manitoba, what they asked me that how to how to make myself normal while I'm in quarantine. Yeah, I know that things are gonna be right, but when?
Yeah.
Things are gonna be right, but when? And like how to what I understood with talking to them that they needs a way to get the mindset that okay, things are gonna be right, and like how to maintain the mental peace when we are in such a situation.
Yes.
And yeah, and most of the things Ashraf has already covered, so I won't repeat those things again. So the question narrowed down as like how to stay mentally well as an international student during being quarantined.
Okay, that's a really good question. So generally speaking, human beings like routine. Our brains like to know what to expect. We like to have some sense of certainty. But our general health circumstance from a pandemic perspective is that there is no certainty. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how long we're stuck. So one best way to cope with the uncertainty is to create our own certainty. And our own certainty can be created by controlling what we do every day. Create a routine. You wake up, you're gonna do this, you're gonna eat your breakfast, and then you're gonna focus on studying, or you're gonna watch the news, you're gonna read a book, you're gonna make a phone call. You might even have a group event, like a virtual, like we're doing right now. You could set that up. You could set that up on a regular basis. You know, you could say that, you know, that at 2 p.m. every day, you and a group of students are gonna get together and study, or ask questions, or just have coffee. And so having a certainty that you create can help manage the distress of the uncertainty in the greater world. That's where I would say that's what I would say would be the best way to cope with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I understood that we should be micromanaging our routine and micromanaging a group so that we can be we can have a feel that yeah, we are connected all together and we are in this situation all together so that we can come out of this situation all together.
Absolutely, but the idea here is to create routine, to create a schedule. So where there's no certainty with regards to what's happening in the world, we can create our own micro schedule, right?
Yes.
Within our household, whether you're by yourself or with other people, some of that will be by yourself and some of it can be coordinated with other people.
Okay. And this question might, I don't know if it's so much relatable with this thing or not, that people are really worried about the financial crisis, because some of, like most of the students over here, they do the delivery jobs and they put down the extra money to their own livelihood, might be grocery or might be anything else. So they have expressed a concern that, yeah, I know that I can go out and do some skip or do the Uber Eats or the delivery jobs, but I'm worried that if I go there, I might be affected as well. So it is creating a financial instability in their own life. Yeah, I know that government is offering so many beneficial programs for us, but they're mentally broken on that side. So do you have any suggestion, like how can they overcome this barrier?
Yes, absolutely. So in a situation where we have a realistic problem, it can often make us feel like we, again, have zero control. And when we have zero control, we're more likely to be depressed and more likely to be anxious, more likely to panic. So sometimes, though, we don't need a perfect solution in order for us to obtain some sense of control. But the process of thinking about what we can do, the process of engaging in a solution-focused thought, so, to be a good problem solver, that process alone, not even the answer, but the process, will give you back the sense of control that you need to be able to cope with a lot of those difficulties. So one good thing to know is that you're not the only one in that situation. So the entire world's economy, has had an impact. If you want to know how much of an impact, just look at the gas prices and you could see they've plummeted. And that's a sign of, a global economy really kind of going down. So number one, it's good to know you're not alone. But number two, because you're not alone, maybe now connect with other people who might be in similar situations and ask them, what are they doing? How are they going to cope? And maybe together you can problem solve, a way to kind of plan what's going to happen after all the dust settles. How are you going to cope with the economic situation? And again, that gives you the opportunity to problem solve, which gives you back some control.
Okay.
Very good suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Does Jamil have any question?
Yeah, I would like to know about there is lots of things going on the social media. Like we have to depend on social media nowadays because we have to pass our time.
Yes.
Like there is lots of information going on, and like there is lots of rumors. There is lots of misinformation. So, like I want to know how we can select those, which one is good for us, or which one we should avoid, or how we should deal with those stuffs.
Yeah, that is an excellent question. Having a reliable source of information is going to be critically important to managing anxiety. There's so many fake news that gets spread on WhatsApp. How many people have relatives that are forwarding videos and things like that are just exaggerations, right? Of like WhatsApp is like the biggest culprit for that, and I'd say it's almost like it's like the Fox News of the Eastern world. Anybody who comes from a country outside of Canada, WhatsApp is the biggest culprit. Choose a reliable source and use that for information. Be mindful about how much of that media you consume. It's going to be good to be on social media to connect with other people socially, but you want to be mindful about getting your information from just that source. Go to the CBC and actually even Google. They've got websites where they've got one consolidated website where you can get all your information about what's happening with COVID-19 and the reliable sources. The CBC, Global News, there's major outlets out there right now that are putting out news on a regular basis, and you can use them as your reliable source of information. The CDC, there's numerous reliable sources. And what I would encourage you to do is share that. Pick one or two reliable sources that you feel you can trust and share that, but also limit how much you're checking in on it. The moment we start to excessively check in on that news. If the news is on in the background all of the time, your anxiety is going to go up. The research shows that when we are consuming news all the time, our anxiety increases. So in this situation, we need to be informed, but we don't need to be informed 24/7. So set a period of time where you could say once, maybe twice a day, I'm going to check in to see what's happening with the news from this reliable source. If you're getting a lot of WhatsApp videos from family and friends abroad, delete them, right? You don't need to watch all of them. Use one or two reputable sources and rely on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very, very good suggestion. Today, I don't know, I got a thing from Walmart was giving $250 voucher, and I don't know if anybody got it. And so, and it was found out that it was a spam, like it was nothing there. So it's WhatsApp. Right. You said it very, very nicely. WhatsApp is a bad source of information. Yeah. Thank you. I see Sandita wants to ask a question.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that. You can follow, I have been following WHO. So any kind of updates regarding what is going on with the world, any health advisories, who would be a very good source to follow right now.
Perfect.
There is the other two sources that I'm following is like Federal Health Canada and Federal Government of Canada, and also the Manitoba Health, and also Manitoba government, provincial government is also updating every day. So if you keep an eye on that, if you're on active on Facebook, or if you're active on Instagram, especially on Facebook, they go on Facebook Live around noon to update the general public every day what's happening with that and where they're going with it. And also a very good source right now to follow our health minister. Also follow the Justin Trudeau's page for any law changes, any updates about funding and whatnot. I think those sources are reliable and you follow them. They don't let us panic because they're government, so they're scrutinizing what they reveal to the public, or what kind of information they release to the public. So I would suggest you to go and check those pages out and keep an eye on that so that you're updated about the situation. That helps me.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for your suggestion. Abdullah, do you want to ask any question?
Yes, I just have one question. I don't know if it was asked or not. For international students who have relatives and families, outside Canada, they're also having the same crisis. And for a lot of us, if we speak to family members, and if we get to know that they're also in a difficult situation, that also puts a mental pressure on us as well, right? So how to cope along with it? Should we continue to communicate with them and share our struggle? Purpose that we are here for the spread education.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. Absolutely stay in touch with family. But you also want to be mindful to not just share the negative. You also want to focus on what you are able to do. Because you're so far away, it can make people worry. It doesn't mean you stop all information, because then they'll know something is up, right? You don't share any information, they're like, you're lying. So you have to be realistic, but that information of being realistic and focusing on what you can control, that's good news for you to cope as well too. And it's important for them to know as well too. So absolutely stay in touch. It's better to be informed than ill-informed or uninformed completely. And that includes about the health and the condition of your family. So absolutely stay in touch. Share information, but be productive and functional and as positive as you can about what you are able to control. That goes to speak to our own perspective. Often we are just focusing on the negative, and the negative can be really traumatic. And yes, we are in a difficult situation. That's the reality. But focus on being functional. What can you do? Are you feeling well? I mean, the fact is, Manitoba, for example, has the lowest number of COVID cases in all of Canada. Share that news. That's a really important bit to share. Share the fact that you're safe. Share the fact that you've got enough food, that you've got company, that you did this question and answer session, that was helping you cope. Share this kind of information. This is functional information. And focus on fun as well too. Focus on the enjoyable aspects of connecting with your family. Have a good sense of humor about this, because without that, we're not going to survive.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very, very good suggestion. I would ask if anybody have any other questions, because we're almost 30 minutes. So if you allow us, Abdul Rehman, I would like to go.
No problem. By all means. Yeah.
Great. I have one question. I'm having really hard time focusing on my day-to-day work. Like, because before we had a routine, like what we have to do, I have to go to work, I have to go to school, I have to do this, I have to do that. It was all discipline, but now I have hard time focusing.
Yeah.
So how do I focus on important stuff?
That's a really good question. You want to mimic an everyday kind of schedule. If you're trying to sit in place and do a lot of stuff, to do various things in one place, you're not going to do it well. If you think about how your brain works, you get to focus on certain tasks in different locations. So move around. You know, it might be one corner of the room to another corner of the room, but move. You know, if you've got the luxury of having a little bit more room, try to sit in different places. So remember, we talked about a routine. The routine is good. Setting different locations, you know, that's really good. Number two, having diversity of things to do. Trying to, you know, the traditional way of doing things might be to cram and sit and do everything at once. That works well when you are able to take a break and leave. When you don't have that opportunity, the ability for you to focus just decreases exponentially. So having some variety of things to do and taking periodic breaks is going to be very, very, very important. It may be that you're doing a half an hour work, getting up and moving for 10 minutes and coming back, you know, versus the traditional way that many students might, you know, focus, especially when we come from the East. You know, our traditional way of studying is cramming. You know, we think about our parents, and there's an emotional guilt too, right? You're like, my parents really worked hard to send me here. I need to work harder. This is not about working harder now. This is about working smarter. You need to be able to retain the information. You don't have to carry the guilt, you know, that you're not doing enough. This is about surviving a very strange and bizarre situation that we've kind of that we're in. And you have to be innovative about how to make that work. And that might include group studying as well too. You know, you replicate the classroom by, you know, seeing who wants to come in virtually and have those discussions, so you're not on your own. You're going to notice that a lot of my answers are based on social engagement and social interaction. And that's because that's who we are as human beings. We support and cause each other to thrive. You know, even our little tiffs and dramas are variety in our everyday life, and not having that, sometimes you miss that. So connect with other people. I'd say that's a really important thing.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Great
much.
suggestion. Great suggestion. Yeah. Anybody else wants to ask question? I can see Ashraf raise his hands. Okay, Ashraf.
So I just wanted Abdul Rehman to address like 3 more concerns of my group.
Yes.
So the most common fear, even a slight flu could make our nights sleepless. We keep fearing it may be COVID-19. How do we deal with this anxiety in regards to the wait for 14 to 20 days before the results can be diagnosed?
That's a really good question. So I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a clinical psychologist. So, but behaviorally, what I would suggest is to use that guide. You know, there's now new guides to check to see whether you can try to determine whether you feel you might have COVID-19 or not. They are now testing sites where people can go and have those checked rather than staying at home and worrying. If you meet that criteria based on the website and you have the opportunity to go get checked. But you also have to remember that having COVID-19 doesn't mean you're going to necessarily die. Remember that the whole purpose of us engaging in this is about flattening the curve. They're suggesting that a majority of people are going to, at some point in time, get this virus. This is not about not getting it. This is about making sure that we all don't get it at the exact same time, so we don't overwhelm the medical system. So it's not that it's not that we can't survive this. We have to do this over a slower period of time. Having the virus doesn't necessarily mean you're dying, right? There are some people who are more susceptible and at greater risk of health conditions and death. And those are people who are immunocompromised, the elderly. So we have to know that in order to help those people survive, we're now isolating to make sure we're not spreading it. So a lot of young people aren't in the hospital at the exact same time, and the doctors can focus on what they need to focus on. We're reducing the spread. It's flattening the curve.
Thank you so much. That was a great answer. Ashraf, do you have any other question, or I would give chance to someone else?
Yeah, the second last question was, the inability to resume my regular life has crippled me down to depression.
Yeah.
How can I convince myself to normally live this stay at home phase through?
Yes. So we talked about routine. Routine is going to be incredibly helpful. And I'd like you to refer back to this video to hear that answer. But activity is also going to be important. So what we don't realize is as we engage in our everyday life, that physical activity is a form of exercise. And it helps us recharge our batteries. So our mood is kind of linked to an internal battery. And that battery is both depleted when we live our lives, but also replenished, right, through the kinetic energy of us moving around every day. When we're staying at home for long periods of time, we are using up that battery cell, but we're not building it up. So we have to start to look for ways to remain as active as we can. You know, are we going to be going down the stairs of our apartments? Are we going to be doing jumping jacks or push-ups? Are we going to be running on the spot? Is there aerobic activity? Is there yoga? What can we do while we're in our places to be more physically active? And that is going to really help with mood, combined with everything else we've talked about today.
Yeah. So the last question which I had from my group was, in cases of extreme depression, if suicidal thoughts arise, what should we do to drive them away?
That's a really good question. That's a tough question. We have to remember the difference between a suicidal thought and actual suicidal intent. Not to minimize that thought, but it's not uncommon when people are stressed to have what we call passive suicidal ideation. You know, that I wish I was dead. But if you're actually strongly considering killing yourself, anybody who's listening, it's going to be very important that you reach out to some of those lines. There's a lot of crisis lines in the city. Clinic has a suicide line. Call that line and seek out the support. There are still emergency services available. Make use of them. So don't stay. If you actually are contemplating killing yourself, and if your depression is that bad, make sure you contact your emergency services. Call the suicide hotline and have them walk you through what you need to do. That's going to be very important. It's not that this is about reducing movement as much as possible. Anything that's not necessary. Remember that we can also step outside. It's just we're not supposed to be conglomerating in groups, and we're supposed to be keeping some distance. So if you're feeling that down, getting outside of your house is not a bad idea. You can do so at this stage in the game. You're just trying to minimize getting together in large groups, and you're keeping some distance. So get out and get a walk. But at the same time, if you're having those thoughts, please call the suicide hotline. Hopefully, maybe we can advertise that or put that on at the end of this video, or share that in the resources, if that's okay.
I think that's a very great suggestion to have that suicide, like the line, a 24 hours line that's available for people who can say from. Yeah, thank you so much. That was a great suggestion. Anything else, Ashraf? Do you have any other question? If not, I'll move on to Prajesh.
No, I would just like to add that as I have declared on my group and personally on my account, that we as Bangladeshi associations, as the leaders of the association, we University of Winnipeg Bangladeshi Student Association, University of Manitoba Bangladeshi Student Association, Canadian Bangladeshi Association, we have all paired up together and help our people through the community to any needs they have. We will try our best, and we are by their side. And I just wanted everyone to know again that you are not alone on this. We are all in this together.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much, Ashraf, for sharing this positive lights that we're all working together as a community. Prajesh, would you like to ask the next question?
I just have a thought that I want to share, that like you have said, the social engagement of the different people in quarantine. So like I have seen some social media game, they're doing some challenge of okay, let's say you do 10 push-up and take 10 other people, or you do this thing and take 10 other people. As for I don't know how much effective it is, but yeah, the time is being passed away, so it's it might be a good thing. What you say on the thing that how it will impact on our life, or even does it have any adverse effect for the social media engagement thing?
Oh, so it's always good to limit screen time.
Mm-hmm.
But if your screen time is connecting you with other people, now's the time to make an exception. You know, but what we want to be mindful of on our phones is consuming false information and limiting access to news just for a limited amount of time. But I'd say if your phone is and your social media is connecting you with other people, particularly if you're quarantined and cannot leave your residence for 14 days, make use of that. Now's the time. But this is a unique circumstance. And in these circumstances, we have to choose things that may not, like maybe the thing you're eating is not the most healthy, but you're eating, right? It's the same thing. And so although social engagement is better in person, and if you can't, even through social media is better than nothing.
True. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great advice. Jamil or Ahad, do you have any question? Yes.
I think it's okay. Ashraf and Pradesh almost covered everything. So it's okay.
Maybe I make one extra point. Some of you might be used to kind of getting together. Like we don't realize that our life has social connection built in. Like particularly if you attend Jummah or something like that, that's an opportunity for us to connect with people. But now the mosques are closed and Jummah is not there. Think about setting up a virtual Jummah, you know, a virtual halaqah, a virtual connection with other people. You know, if that's something you normally do, why not? You know, it gets you to maintain that routine that you normally were used to in just a slightly different way. And so you can build that into your schedule in a different way than you normally did.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah. So
That's
you're
Zoom
still doing
Jummah.
what you used to do before. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But
Whatever
doing virtually.
you connect with people, you know, you can try to do that virtually for now.
Awesome. I wonder if Manitoba Islamic Association is doing Jummah online. Does Ahad know about it or anything?
I don't know if they are, but I know that other mosques are doing it. And there's virtual Jummahs in other provinces, and it's something that we could consider. MSA could even do it as well too, right?
That is suggestion that we can certainly speak to our committee, and we can certainly. That was actually a suggestion that was brought up, but right now, since we're working with the COVID-19 bloodline response, we're working with the Canadian blood bank or something,
Yes.
and so we're actually gathering people, so that we can donate blood as much as we can because of the pandemic and because it's also a good requirement as well.
Yeah.
And also we are right now collecting donations, and we are supporting Islamic Relief Canada so that they have all the tools and the resources to support the people in the community as much as possible.
Sounds good.
But a virtual community Jummah, that's something we'll talk about, and also thinking about to organize as well.
And Ahad, keep us posted about it if you arrange that.
Yeah, thank you. Of course. Yeah.
You're on mute.
I'm on mute. Sorry. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in such a short time. Because when Dr. Abdulrehman told me, okay, tonight I write for you, I'm like, okay, let's see how we can manage it.
Yeah,
So,
sorry for the last minute availability.
yeah, but I'm glad it all worked out, and thank you, everybody, for joining.